Me.
Someone.
That.
I recognize one of her songs, but I just have no idea who she is.
I'm about to.
Okay, so let's go look at Ingenuity. Let's see where we are on Ingenuity.
Find your own business.
Reports, attendance log, period 6.
Now I'm looking at your screen.
Okay.
I can still see it.
So, Miss Sophia, I need a little bit more time on Ingenuity. Harper, a little bit more time.
Who is that?
That's good. Good. Jacob, I need about 10 more minutes on Ingenuity. 10.
Why are you here?
10 minutes. Hey, and I want to show you. So if you go into Ingenuity, there is a button that says Profile. When you click on Profile, then you can click on Attendance, and you can see your own time. So can somebody click on it, Ingenuity?
I would do it, but my computer's not gonna load. It's being annoying, like the trash it is. Computer, I will choke you. Word.
Click on Profile, and then Attendance report, and then show you your time. Okay? So you can see your own time. On the far right side of the screen, there's a little arrow. You click on the arrow, and then there's a choice of profile. You click on profile, and then another screen comes up, and then on the far left side, it says attendance. And you click on attendance, and it shows all your time. Okay?
8 minutes and 14 seconds.
13 minutes and 30.
Yep.
25 minutes and 9 seconds.
6 seconds.
So now you can look at
33
your
minutes and
own
45 hours.
time. Not that I don't mind pulling it up for you, I don't, but
Really? So when I be nice to the touchpad, you're gonna load for me? Yeah.
I will load it up for you if you ask me. Sure. Okay. So my people that are online, I can't show you because that goes into my teacher view. But if you go into here, let me go. Okay. Let me go back in there. Continue. But when you open up Ingenuity, your screen is going to look a little different than me. But over here on this side of the screen, there's going to be a little black arrow. You click on that arrow, and then there's a choice that says Profile. So you click on Profile, and then you go over to this side of the screen, and it says Attendance. And you click on Attendance, and it shows you all your time. Okay, so you can check on your own now. I mean, I don't mind showing it to you. You might want to look at it. Okay. Okay, so that's a good thing to know. Okay, so then Google Classroom. God, this is going to get longer and longer as the year goes on. Okay, so Ingenuity, you know how to check your time now. You need 30 minutes. This is a video from Scholastic Math. Just watch it. I don't think there's a test attached to it. Ed Puzzle, Math Minute. This is your packet. Math Detective, Sudoku's Extra Credit, textbook we're doing in class, the quiz, and then Friday we're just going to do a writing thing. Okay, but we'll do that on Friday. Yeah, but it'll be, but it.
Why did I think toxic? Like Britney Spears.
Okay, so that's Google Classroom. So let's go back to, where am I here? Okay. So if we can now go to page 336 in your math book. Okay, so, right, we've been talking about converting measurements, right? And we had our relationship, we created ratio tables, we graphed it, right? And we even had this table where we looked at unit rates, right? And this is in American or English units. And we figured out, and we learned that there was two ways that you can convert it. You can use a unit rate method. That's one method, or you can use a proportion, which is the other method. Either one works just fine. I think some situations are easier for a unit rate than a proportion, but a proportion works every time. Okay, you just have to remember to keep your units on the same level. Okay, that's the tricky part. Okay. Okay, so let's go to page 336 at the top. Example number 4. So it says, I don't know, how do you think you say that? Yumika? Yumika needs 250 centimeters of fabric to make a costume for a play. How many meters of fabric does she need? Okay, so we're going to use a proportion. And we know our unit rate is 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So if we set that up, let me move this over. Right, you have 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So then I take 250 and I put it on the top because it's on the same level as this centimeters. And I don't know how many meters I have, right? So then you find your scale factor, right, between 100 and 250, right? So to go from 100 to 250, right, you'd have to multiply by 2.5, right? Because 100 times 2.5 gives you 250. So you have to multiply the bottom by 2.5. And so your answer is 2.5 meters. Okay? So let's just practice some of this. I think once you practice a few, I think you kind of get the hang of it. Okay? So it says complete, use a unit rate or a proportion. So here we have 5.5 1/3 yards is equal to blank feet. Right? So how many feet are in a yard? If you look at your table on 334, what does it tell me? 1 yard is equal to 3 feet, right? So if I write that here, I write it as a unit rate with the 1 in the bottom. This is a yard, and this is 3 feet, right? So just looking at it, how would I convert yards to feet? Would I multiply or divide? Well, if this is 1, right? If 1 yard is equal to 3 feet, we can set it up as a proportion if you want. So 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. So then I don't know what my feet are. That's question mark. But then my yards is 5 1/3, right? Which is the same as 5.33. What? What am I doing? Yard 3, 5 point. I don't know what I'm doing. Why did I do that? Okay, well, if I have 5.3 yards, 5 1/3 yards, and I want to convert it to feet, and I know 1 yard is equal to 3 feet, I'd have to multiply this by 3. And just to make it easier, I'm going to convert 1/3 is equivalent to, as a decimal, right? 1/3 as a decimal is 0.33. So if I take 5.33 times 3, I get how many feet I have. Where's some scratch bits? Well, you want to be difficult. Okay, so if I take 5.33 times 3, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 3 is 9, 5 times 3 is 15, but I have 2 decimal places, right? I have to put that in my answer. Am I going to go left or right with my decimal places? I'm going to go left. So since I have 2 decimal places here, I have to move it here. So this becomes 15.99, which will round up to 16. So 5 1/3 yards is equal to 16 feet. Okay, so let's look at the next one. 4.5 pints to cups. So how many pints are in a cup?
There's 1 pint every 2 cups.
Right. So 1 pint is equal to 2 cups. Right? So am I going to multiply? This problem is just like this one. Am I going to multiply or divide?
Multiply.
I'm going to multiply, right? And I'm going to make my life a little easier, I'm going to convert that to 4.5 times 2. And what do we get? We get 4.5 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Put down the 0, carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8. That's 9. I have 1 decimal place, right? So I got to move my decimal point. How many places am I going to move it?
1.
I only have 1. So I'm going to go left 1. So this is 9 points, or 9. It's not. So 4.5 pints is equal to 9 cups. Okay, the next one, I have 1.2 meters is equal to blank centimeters. And if you look up here, it's telling us, right? So 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. Okay? Am I going to multiply or am I going to divide? If you notice, you're going from a bigger unit to a smaller one here. You're going from a bigger one to a smaller one. Right? You're going from a bigger one to a smaller one.
Multiply.
You're going to multiply. So we multiplied these two. We're going to multiply by this. So we're going to take 1.2 times what? 100, right? And I want to show you something. Since you're multiplying by a multiple of 10, right? I can just move my decimal point. And I don't have to do the math, right? So the way you figure out how many places to move it is you look at how many zeros your multiplier has. So how many zeros do I have? I have two zeros, right? So if I take 1.2 I'm going to move my decimal point 2 places to the right. So I'm going to have to add a 0. So multiplying 1.2 times 100 is the same thing as moving my decimal point. So it's 120 centimeters. Now, if I multiplied this out, let's see what happens when I do that. So if I take 1.2 times 100, right, that's 0, that's 0. That drop down 1, move over 1, 0, 0. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. That's 0, 0, 2, 1. But now I have 1 decimal point, right? So I got to move that to the left. So I move it 1 and I get 120. So I get the same thing. So if you're aware, if you're multiplying or dividing by a multiple of 10, you can just move your decimal point. Just saves you some time. Okay. Here we have grams to kilograms. Would you happen to know what that is? You know how many grams are in a kilogram? Or kilograms in a gram? Actually, 1,000 kilograms to 1 gram. Okay. So we're going from so again, we're doing by a multiple of 10, right? So if I have 28 here, how many zeros do I have? I have 3 zeros. So I can just take my decimal point and move it once, twice, 3 times. I have to add a 0. So this is 0.028 kilograms. Just saves you a few steps. Okay. Number 5. A large grouper. Anybody know what a grouper is? It's not somebody that hangs around rock bands. It's a big fish. Is it a freshwater fish or a saltwater fish? It's a saltwater fish. Very big fish. It says a very large grouper, or it says a large grouper, can weigh 1/3 of a ton. How much does a large grouper weigh to the nearest pound? So how many pounds to a ton? Look at your chart. Huh? No. Look
It's
at your
2,000 pounds to a ton.
2,000 pounds to a ton. Okay. So if I have 2,000 pounds to 1 ton, right? And I want to figure out how many pounds that is, right? Am I going to multiply or divide?
Multiply.
You're going to multiply. Very good. Okay. And this is a fraction, so I'm going to convert this to a decimal. So if I convert 1/3 to a decimal, you know what that number is? This goes back to benchmark fractions.
That's 0.33.
Yep, it's 0.33, and you put a little line over it because it goes on forever. It never ends. Okay, but this is when we were talking about benchmark fractions. This is where this saves you time, because you know that 0.33 is equivalent to 1/3. So if we take 0.33 times 2,000, right? So let's do that. We got 2,000 pounds times 0.33. That's 0, 0, 0. 3 times 2 is 6. Then we got drop down 0, 0, 0, 6. 0, 0, 0, 6, 6. And then I have 2 decimal places, so I have to move back to the left. So that's 1, 2. So this is 660. So a grouper that weighs 1/3 of a ton is approximately 660 pounds. That's a lot of fish. Okay. Okay, number 6. One of the world's narrowest electric vehicles is about 1.08 meters wide. How wide is the vehicle in centimeters? Okay, so let's set this up. So we know from our example up here that 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter, right? And if I set it up as a proportion, right, I'm going to put my 1.08 here on the bottom, and I don't know what my centimeters are. That's my question. So if I find my scale factor, right, how do I go from 1 meter to 1.0 meters? Right, I'd have to multiply by 1.08, right? Well, then I have to do the same thing up here, right? And the same thing, I'm multiplying by a multiple of 10. Here's 1.08. What am I doing? 1.08 times, yeah. So I have 2 zeros, so that's 2 decimal places. So I'm going to move it to the right once, twice. So I get 108. So this is 108 centimeters. Just saves you time. If you can remember, if you're multiplying or dividing by a multiple of 10, you can just move your decimal point left or right. Okay. Number 7, building on the essential question, compare and contrast using rates and proportions to convert units of measurement. So there are 2 ways you can do it, right, that we learned from this chapter. You can use both unit rate right, or you can use a proportion. You can use either one. It works. Whatever what makes sense for you or whatever the problem is, either one is perfectly fine. The only thing you might want to think about is if you have a fractional measure, right? So something like this up here, 4.5 pints, or 5 1/3 yards, or 1/3 of a ton. Unit rate is probably easier. Okay, and I'm going to put another star here just to remind you that you can convert a fraction to a decimal. So that also makes your life a little easier. Okay. Okay, so let's go over to page 337. Okay, so now it says complete independent practice, use unit rate or a proportion. So I want to go from 18 feet to yards. How many feet are in a yard? 3 feet, right? So if I have 18 feet, how am I going to find yards? Multiply or divide? If I had 3 feet make 1 yard, how am I going to get to yards? Think of it this way. Okay, let's go. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? I've got 18 feet, right? And you just told me that 3 feet equal 1 yard, right? So that's 1 yard. 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 And that's 1 yard. How many do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how do I get a 6? I'd have to divide by 3, right? So 18 divided by 3, 18 divided by 3 is equal to 6 yards. Okay? Okay, so now we have 2 liters is equal to milliliters. Okay, this is volume. Okay, and you have to keep track of what you're actually measuring. So milliliters is volume, right? Or capacity, they call it. Kilometers is distance. So you need to keep track of what you're measuring. Okay, so the relationship between liters and milliliters, what do you think that is? 1 liter is equal to, what do you think? How many milliliters? It's actually 1,000. So if you know that 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters, how many milliliters would you have with 2 liters?
2,000 milliliters.
2,000 milliliters. Very good. And you multiply, right? Okay, so now you have meters to kilometers. This is distance, right? And it's the same relationship. You have 1 meter is equal to 1,000 kilometers, right? So what do you think? Are we going to multiply or divide?
Multiply.
No, we're going to divide. And also, if you notice, we're doing it by a multiple of 10. So we can actually take 6.5. How many zeros do I have? I have 3, right? Because it's 1,000, right? So I'm going to go to my left. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. That's where my decimal point goes. I'm going to add a 0. So this is 0.0065 kilometers. Okay. Okay. How many feet in a mile? Look at your chart. How many feet in a mile? 5,280 feet. Okay, so if I have 5,280 feet in 1 mile, how many feet would I have in 2 miles? Am I going to multiply or divide?
Multiply.
Yep. So you would take 5,280 times 2, or you could just add them together, which would probably be a little faster, don't you think? I think it would be. So 5,280 plus 5,280, 0. I'm going to sneeze. 8 and 8 is 16. Carry the 1. 2 and 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 5 and 5 is 10. 10,560. 10,560 feet. Okay. Okay. 5,000 pounds equals something tons. How many pounds in a ton?
2,000 pounds in a ton.
Yep, very good. 2,000 pounds in a ton. So if I know that 2,000 pounds is equal to 1 ton, how would I figure out tons? Just looking at your number, this is bigger than 2,000. Is it more than 1 ton?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I'd figure it out is I divide 2,000 into 5,000, right? But you all have all these zeros, right? You could actually, if you wanted to, you could just take 2 divided into 5. Be simpler. 2 times 2 is 4. You have a remainder of 1. You bring down the 0. That's a 10. It's 2.5. And then you would just, right? So I know that 5,000 pounds is 2.5 tons. Okay, so now I have quarts to pints. How many quarts do I have in a pint? Or how many pints in a quart?
2 pints per quart.
2 pints to a quart. So I have 1 quart and I have 2 pints. Okay. Okay, so let's do this as a proportion. I have 1 quart and I want to go to, let's change this to a decimal. If I change 3/4 to a decimal, what would that be?
2.75.
Yeah, right. It'd be 0.75. So this would become 2.75, right? So I don't know how many pints I have. I have to find my scale factor. 1 times what number gives me 2.75? Well, that's 2.75. And then 2 times 2.75 gives me 5 something, right? 2.75 times 2. 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1. 2 times 7 is 14, 15. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1, that's 5. And I have 2 decimal places, so 1, 2. So it's 5.50 pints. Is this clicking in a little bit? Once you use it, you get the relationship, right? And I want to remind you that when you're doing your benchmark and you're doing your STAR test, they have a reference sheet at the front of the test, and it gives you, they don't give you all of these, but they give you what you need to answer some of the questions. So it's there as a reference. You don't need to memorize this stuff, right? You want to use your brain power for other things. You don't want to have to use it to memorize this stuff. Okay? Okay. But if you just remember to, for me, just finding the unit rate is very helpful because it puts me in perspective whether I'm multiplying or dividing. You're comparing the quantities. Okay? We have a little bit of time left. So number 7, let's see, this is the farthest I've got so far. One of the largest pumpkins ever grown weighed about 3/4 of a ton. God, that's a pretty big pumpkin. How many pounds did the pumpkin weigh? Did you use a unit rate or proportion? Well, we're not going to worry about that. Okay, so we know that there's 2,000 pounds to 1 ton, right? And it says it weighed 3/4 of a ton. I can rewrite that, right, as what? The decimal equivalent of that is 0.75, right? So I can do 2,000 times 0.75, and I get pounds, right? So if I take 2,000 times 0.75, 5 times 0, 0, 0, 5 times 2 is 10, 7 times 0, 0, 0, 7 times 2 is 14. I have 0, 0, 0, 0, 5, 1, right? And then I have 2 decimal places here, so I go 1, 2. So my answer is 1,500 pounds. 1,500 pounds. Okay. Number 8. This will probably be the last one. 8. Ling is training for a marathon by jogging 6.3 kilometers every other day. How many meters does she jog every other day? Okay, so we're converting kilometers to meters. We know that 1,000 kilometers is equal to 1 meter, right? And she ran 6.3 kilometers. So I'm going to put 6.3 up here, right? And I don't know what this is, okay? So how do I get, right? So let me see. Let me make sure I don't mess this up. Yeah. Okay. So if I have meters, right, I would, did I do that right? 1 kilometers. Oh, yeah, 6.3. I don't know meters. So 1,000 times 6.3. It comes to 6.3 kilometers times 1,000. So it would be 6.3 times 1,000, which would be 6,300 kilometers. Okay, so this is an easy one. So it says a 3-pound pork loin can be cut into 10 pork chops of equal weight. How many ounces is each pork chop? Explain each proportion, right? So how many pounds are to an ounce? So 1 pound is equal to
16 ounces.
16 ounces. So I have 1 pound, 16 ounces, right? I have a 3-pound pork loin. You ever seen a pork loin? Looks like a great big hot dog. It's great big. It's a part of the pig that's along the back. Okay. So you would take 1 pound to get to 3. This is times 3. So it'd be 16 times 3, which is, but then you're dividing it into 10 pork chops. So, well, 16 times, what is 16 times 3? Eight, 7, 7, 2, 8, 7. 16 times 3 is 48. So that's 48 ounces, right? And then I'm going to divide that by 10. So 48 divided by 10 is 4.8 ounces. Okay. Okay. Well, we got farther today than I did in the other two. Cool. Okay. So we will set up for the quiz. Let's see. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We'll see what kind of time goes. We might be able to do that tomorrow. I just don't know what to expect with this STEM trailer thing. So we'll find out. So tomorrow's STEM trailer. Okay, my online people, you may log off. Go to period 7.